Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Faith, and today guys, I'll be checking out Kidada, Jones, SLAMS, Jada, Pinkett for lying on Tupac. And without much ado, let's see what this video is all about.
It feels like I just came back from seeing Pac at Rikers and I had to leave him there. It's just like yesterday.
Jada is back at it again, talking about her soulmate Tupac. And it looks like Tupac's ex-fiancée Kidada Jones has had enough of Jada lying and acting like she was the only woman in Pac's life.
Once Quincy and Tupac cleared the air, he was welcomed into the family, and Tupac and Kidada made plans to marry. But those plans were shattered on September the 7th, 1996, when Tupac Shakur was gunned down on the streets of Las Vegas.
You remember the words to that song?
What song?
If I was your best friend, I want you around all the time. Could I be your best friend? If you'll promise you'll be mine.
Okay, so you've probably seen Jada Pinkett Smith trending again because she's got a new memoir coming out called Worthy. Now, I get that Jada wants to promote her book, but the things she's been saying on her press tour are not helping her get the public on her side. People were already looking at Jada sideways after that Oscar slap. And now that she's once again dragging Tupac into her relationship drama with Will, revealing their personal business that honestly nobody asked to know about, the internet is going off on her like never before. So just this past week, Jada claimed that Tupac proposed to her, that he had alopecia, and that he was her soulmate.
So when he asked me to get married, he was at Rikers. And I knew at that time that he needed somebody to do time with him.
But the way Jada keeps talking about Tupac, you think she was the only woman in this man's life, when in fact, Pac had a whole fiance when he died. Tupac was engaged, and he lived with Quincy Jones's daughter, Kidada Jones, up until his death. And Jada wasn't even on speaking terms with Pac when he died. But that's not all. Fans have now found evidence that Jada is either lying about Tupac proposing to her or exaggerating the story just to get clout. Because looking at the timeline, well, the math is not mathing, dear.
At all.
Cool. So prior to going into Rikers, Tupac already had a girlfriend named Keisha. He proposed to Keisha, her words, in a September 2011 interview. He proposed to Keisha before he even went into prison. They were already engaged.
Okay, so let me give you some context in case you're confused about why Tupac's fans are mad at Jada. We cannot deny that Jada and Pac were very, very close back in the day. And Jada has always claimed that there was no romantic chemistry between them, and neither one was interested in taking things to the next level. In fact, Jada told Howard Stern last year that she once asked Pac to kiss her just to see if there was any attraction, and she described it as the most disgusting kiss ever.
There's no physical chemistry between us at all. And it wasn't even just for me.
Right.
You know, it was him too. There was a time when I was like, just kiss me. Let's just see how this goes. And when I tell you, it had to be the most disgusting kiss for us both.
And while Jada and Pac remained friends after high school, they didn't see eye to eye on many things, and their friendship started to turn cold because Pac believed Jada had gone all Hollywood, while she tried to convince him to leave the street lifestyle behind. At the time of Tupac's death, he and Jada had already stopped talking. In fact, they didn't speak for a whole year prior to his murder. But if you look at Jada's interviews about Pac and ignore all this context, you'd think that Jada was the #1 woman in Pac's life. But we all know Pac was a ladies' man, and he wasn't exactly known for being faithful. He often entertained multiple women at once, and well, he told them what they wanted to hear. But it looks like Jada is still convinced to this day that Tupac had eyes for her and only her. And during her recent appearance on All the Smoke podcast, she claimed that Tupac proposed to her while he was imprisoned at Rikers Island.
So when he asked me to get married, he was at Rikers. And I knew at that time that he needed somebody to do time with him, which I was going to do anyway. You didn't have to marry me to do time. Right? I'm here.
But see, there are a few issues with Jada's version of the story, and one fan on TikTok went viral after posting a video claiming that Jada was lying about the proposal because the timeline just doesn't add up. And this fan correctly pointed out that Pac was at Rikers for only 3 weeks before he was transferred to Clinton Correctional Facility in March 1995. But before he went to Rikers, Tupac had already proposed to someone, but it wasn't Jada. It was his girlfriend, Keisha Morris, and they tied the knot in a civil ceremony at Clinton Correctional Facility in April 1995, with Keisha's mother and Tupac's cousin present as witnesses.
So prior to going into Rikers, Tupac already had a girlfriend named Keisha. He proposed to Keisha, her words, in a September 2011 interview. He proposed to Keisha before he even went into prison. They were already engaged. They got married in April. And in the time that he got sentenced and was taken to prison, Keisha actually moved closer to be by him and be by the prison and saw him on a near daily basis.
Keisha also told The Source magazine in October 2000 that after Tupac was transferred to Clinton Correctional, he asked her to handle all of his business with his lawyers, managers, and record company because he wanted her to represent him. So clearly Tupac trusted Keisha would support him and handle his affairs while he was locked up. But Jada claimed in her new interview that Tupac proposed to her because he needed someone to be his rock.
But he needed a rock. He needed because of our friendship and because of everything we had been through together, he just wanted to feel that solidified foundation.
Now, I'm not going to claim that Jada is 100% lying about Tupac proposing. I think it's totally possible he said something like that. I mean, we all know how that prison talk goes. But it's pretty bizarre of Jada to suggest that Tupac didn't have anyone besides her when Keisha was the one who had the ring on her finger. Now, do I think that Keisha was the love of Pac's life and that he wanted to grow old with her? No, of course not. She was just someone he messed with and who was trustworthy enough to handle his business while he was in prison. But there was another woman who many sources close to Pac claimed was the woman he wanted to grow old with, and that's Kidada Jones. After Tupac got out of prison, his marriage to Keisha was annulled, and he reconnected with Kidada. Pac had a thing for Kidada even before he went to prison, but she initially turned him down because Pac had dissed Kidada's dad, Quincy Jones, for only dating white women. But Pac later apologized to Kidada, and they started dating shortly after he was released. Tupac proposed to Kidada, and they bought a home together in Calabasas, California, where they lived until Tupac's death in September 1996. And as I already mentioned, by that point, Tupac had already stopped talking to Jada, and they had no contact for a whole year. And while Jada hasn't stopped bringing up Tupac, Kidada has stayed dignified, and the only time she mentioned him was in her dad Quincy's biography, which was published back in 2002. Tupac was the love of my life, Kidada wrote. He and I lived together for 4 months, and then he was murdered in Las Vegas in 1996. It was the most horrible thing that ever happened to me. On the night of Tupac's death, Kidada was in their hotel room when she received the news, and she ran to the hospital where they handed her Pac's blood-stained clothes. According to Quincy's biography, the last words Kidada told Pac was, "Do you know I love you? Do you know we all love you?" Tupac nodded and fell into a coma, never to awake again. Wow. Since then, Kidada hasn't spoken to the media about Tupac, and she's never tried to sell her story, and she's never revealed any private details about Pac. Jada, on the other hand, is now claiming that Pac had alopecia, and despite the fact that he didn't want to talk about this publicly, Jada decided to speak on his behalf almost 30 years later. In a new interview with People magazine, Jada said, "I don't think Tupac has ever talked about the alopecia he suffered from. After he was in Northern California with the police officers who beat him up, he started losing his hair, and his alopecia patterns were far more extreme than mine. I don't think Pac ever talked about his alopecia, but he also looked really good with a bald head." To be clear, Jada is not lying about Tupac losing his hair after the police beat him up in a racially motivated attack, as this was confirmed in the Dear Mama documentary. But I think it's just vile and disrespectful of Jada to bring this up when she knew Pac didn't want to discuss it publicly. Like, you can talk all you want about your friendship with Pac, but to reveal intimate details like that about a man who has been dead for almost 30 years, like, take Take seats, Jada. Let that man rest. We all know Kidada is very private, so I don't think she'll stoop to Jada's level and start going on podcasts to talk about Pac. But sources close to Kidada have now confirmed that she finds Jada's comments very distasteful, and she reportedly believes that Jada is totally misrepresenting her relationship with Tupac to get clout and clean up her own image. As for fans, they're dragging Jada for disrespecting both Pac and Kidada, and they're saying Jada is delusional if she thinks Pac would still like her if he was alive. One fan said, "I can't even begin to describe how disrespectful Jada is being towards Kidada with all this Tupac talk. His actual true love, the one he wanted to marry." And another person wrote, "I genuinely feel bad for Tupac's girlfriend. He died in a whole relationship while Jada pretends they had the greatest love of all. Meanwhile, the woman he was with says nothing, and she was at his bedside when he died. It's so weird." But let me know how you feel about Jada revealing all this stuff about Tupac. Do you think she's being disrespectful to Kidada? Leave your comments down below. And then check out this next video.
Wow, you guys, that was such an interesting one. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think that Jada Pinkett Smith is lying that Tupac proposed to her, even when there are glaring evidence that Tupac had a whole fiancé who he lived with at the time of his death? Let me know what you guys think. I would love for you guys to throw more light on this Jada Pinkett and Tupac story. Do you think she is telling the truth? And also, do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you totally enjoyed watching this video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.